this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to create a Google form and set it up as a quiz. So to create a Google form, there's two ways you can get there. One way is to go to from your Google Drive to go to the New menu and then More, and then click Google Forms at the very top. This will create a blank Google form right off the bat. The other option is to go to your waffle grid up here, Google Apps, and find Forms in this list. If you don't see it here, you can click More. And if you don't see it here, you can go to Even More from Google and find Forms. But I have it right here, so you can click Forms. And what this will bring you to is the templates that you can start with. And the templates can be blank, just like it would have started from your Google Drive, or they give you some options for exit tickets and assessments and worksheets and things like that. But it just gives you some different question types within these templates, and you can click More and see a whole bunch of different kind of templates that are created here. The question names and things like that you can change if you were to use some of these templates. For instance, if I just click assessment, you can see what that looks like. But remember, you're not locked into anything here, and you can see a little Latin that's used, but they give you name, email, quiz question, your first question, etc., etc. So it kind of sets up some of the things for you, but I like to start with a blank form. So I'm just going to go to New, More, and then Google Forms. So the first thing you should do when you open a Google form is to give it a title. And you can go right up here into the top left and give it a title. Also, if you give it a title right here, so sample form, I put a title there. If I click up here, it will pull in what I put into this area right here. So form description could be a little bit more instructions regarding this form or quiz. So after you read the book, please answer these questions. You can give your description right here. So we've titled it, we've given it a quick description. Maybe you want to change the theme of this form right now, and you can see this color palette up on the top. If we click this color palette, we can see we can change to different colors, or we can even go and change using this image file button down here and choose some of these images that they already have in the gallery. You may have your own, so you can scroll through work and school, birthday, party, sports and games, travel. You can even choose some animated themes. So if I put this baseball one, or you can upload your own photos, and I click select, I can have this kind of animation up in my theme. So what we can have here now is the basis for where we start building our questions, and it always starts you with one question right here. And if I click on Untitled Question, it opens up my editing view. So the first question I like to have for any form is, what is your name? So I'll put name, and you can even break this down into two if you would like. First name, and I want to make sure this is short answer. And then I can use either this button to create a new question, or I can click this duplicate button, and it will duplicate the question I just created. So I can go duplicate, and I can just change first name to last name. So the first two questions I like to have is first name and last name, and that'll help us later when we're looking at student data and we sort or anything like that. So what I'm going to do now is click on New Question. And you can see it starts me off as a multiple choice. But when I click this drop-down menu, I can see I have a bunch of other choices here, and I will run down these choices. So short answer we saw with the first name and last name, and it provides you a little box to put a short answer in. Paragraph type of question is very similar to the short answer, but allows the student a bigger box to put a larger answer in. So, what is your response to global warming? All right. I can add another question, And we're going to go down the list here, and we're going to choose multiple choice. So what is your favorite color? And we can click here in option 1 and say blue. We can click down here for add other option, red, yellow. You can also have an option to add other, and if I click this, it adds an other option where it will allow the students to write in an answer. Okay, so now I'm going to add another question, and we will change this to our next checkboxes. So with multiple choice, they're only allowed to check one answer with a multiple choice. With checkboxes is, which sports do you play? Checkboxes allow you to check multiple boxes. Baseball, football, dance, soccer. We can even add another there as well. And checkboxes allow you to check more than one answer. Before I move on to the next ones, I want to show you some setting that you want to make sure you check when you're going here. And that is, I'm going to go back to first name, this required setting. So you can check this required button to make that a required question type. So we can click required on those two, meaning they have to respond to these. And if this is a quiz, you're probably going to want to make all of the questions required. So you can go ahead and check those. It's a good idea to check those as you are creating the quiz. All right, we're going to add another question. And we're going to choose drop down. So drop down is just like a multiple choice question, but is set in a drop down menu look. So how many dogs do you have? And we can say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 plus, and we forgot the option for 0. All right, we can make it required. Add another question. File upload is our newest type of question. And if we click file upload, this lets students or any individuals add a file from Google Drive to the person that owns this form. So they can upload an image, a video, it can be another document, it could be any type of file that you ask students to upload. So we can click continue there. Please submit your resume. File upload. You can say how many files total, what's the file size, what types of files will you allow. You can click this and then allow all, or maybe you only want a PDF file. And we apply, so it's only going to accept the PDF, but you can change that to whatever you want. Make this required. Going to add a question here. We're going to change it to a linear scale. Okay. Please rate your level of understanding of today's class. From 1 to 5. 1 being I don't get it at all. To number 5, I could teach the content. Okay, so it's a linear scale type. This next question type that we're going to add is going to be the multiple choice grid. So I'm going to click multiple choice grid and I can say for each day, which was your favorite class? So the rows maybe Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, And we can go art, music, history, math, ELA, and science. And real quick with these too, you want to make sure, do you want to only require one response per row? So, meaning on row 1 Monday, do you want them to only be able to select art, music, history, or math, like only one? So yes, I only want them to require one response per row. You can go into these 3 dots too and limit one response per column if that's your choice. Okay. Next question, we are going to go down to date. A date type question. You can say, when is your birthday? And you could say, that's how it's going to be, the month, the day, the year. Okay, make that required if we want. I can go another question. And we can go down and say time. All right. What is your favorite time to eat lunch? Okay, and we can make that required. Now, I want to go over the settings that you have for all of these types of questions. So when you click these 3 dots down in the bottom right, you have a couple options. One of which that you'll have for all of these questions is this description. And this description will put a little line underneath the question. Please be as specific as possible. It allows you to give a little bit more instructions for that particular question. So, if I come up here to global warming, and I click here and I go to description, I can say, make sure you answer in complete sentences. And you'll see what this kind of stuff looks like later. Some options for different question types we have for here, data validation. And what that means is if I click that, you need, for this paragraph, minimum character count, and you can say how many of those are. And if they don't meet that character count, what do you want the text to be that spits out? Not enough words, not enough letters. That's what data validation is. So with short answer, if we go here, we have the same thing, data validation. Their answer has to be a number or a text or a certain length, and you have some options there. Like it's requiring the user to put in something. So, for instance, if we had a question called email, you'd want to make sure that there would be a character in there with the @ symbol because all emails have the @ symbol. I can click this multiple choice, and you can see we've always had this description. Go to section based on that answer. We'll go over in another video. This shuffle option order is a good one where it will shuffle the options for the questions here. So you can shuffle these different options. So if 2 students are next to each other, they might not get the same options in the same order for that particular question. So you can see for each question, we have a couple different types of options. Okay. Within those 3 dots, most of which being everyone has description, and then some have data validation, which requires them to put in some type of question. So the next thing I want to show you is another option you have for when you put in questions. So I just put in a question, and I can say, what is this? And if you notice to the right, I have a little icon here of a picture, an image. I can click that, and it's going to pull up a option to upload pictures. But I can also do a search or access my Google Drive, and I'm going to say, what is this? And I'm going to type in Apple. All right, so I'm going to put that, select this, select, and there's our Apple. We have some settings right here. Do I want to, align it in the left, the center, or the right? I can make it right in the center. I can shrink it down since this is large. I can grab the corner and pull it down, okay? And I can say this is a banana, this is an apple, and so on, or add other. Another option is, when I add another question, so I can say, which of these is a trout? And down here, for options, I can click an image. I can say, again, I'm going to do a search, and I'm going to say bass. So I'm going to just give them image choices. I'm going to put a bass there as an image choice. For this option, I'm going to put search. I can do trout. And for this option, I will just do one more. And I will search. And I will do a pike. Okay. So you can see we have images as options in the questions or part of the question itself. Okay. So we want to make sure all these are required. Again, if it's a quiz, most likely. The other options we have for adding things over here that might be tied specifically to a question is a video. So what I can put is, if I click this little video mark and I click video, add a video, I can do a search for any YouTube video, or I can click a specific YouTube URL and put it in there. But if I know volcano, I can put that in, select volcano eruption. Okay, I can type that in. We have some settings for the video again here. I can center align it. What you can do now, if I add a question, I can say, according to the video above, please describe how a volcano erupts. And it made it paragraph, probably because it recognized the word describe. It kind of is smart. Google Forms does a smart kind of read, where it recognizes some of the things you are typing and will give you answer choices that fit or things like that to help you out. So that's the option for creating a video and using that in here. Now, the thing to keep in mind with using a video is that the video is a separate item than the question. It's not part of the question like this question with the picture is. I'm hoping at some point that we'd be able to insert a video as part of a particular question. But right now it's not. And the reason why I say that is because if you decide in the settings of this exam, which I will go over now. So if I go up to the top and I click settings, if you decide in the settings of your exam to, underneath presentation, shuffle the question order. If you decide to do this, shuffling the question order and save, what will happen when you have a video like that placed into your quiz? These are two separate items. So it's possible this question, since we're shuffling, could be shuffled up here, and the video may be somewhere else. They're not tied or linked together. So if you have a video as part of your quiz, you're not going to want to shuffle the question order within your settings underneath presentation. So we're going to want to make sure we leave that unchecked if you have video. The other important piece for your settings within a Google form is to make sure that you have collect email address checked. So this is not on by default, so you want to make sure you collect email addresses. This will allow us to send student grades, be able to sort by certain student emails. It's a very important feature, especially when we're doing quizzes. This box, if you check that, will send them an email if they request it, or always an email with their responses to this quiz. You don't necessarily need this because there's a way to send them their grades once I talk about the quizzes feature. Limit to one response. You want to check that if you only want them to be able to access this one time and one time only. This is grayed out right here. Restrict to Medway Public Schools users. You usually can change this on or off, but it's locked on because of the fact that we have a file upload question. So that's why that is on or off. But most likely you want to keep it in Medway Public Schools because you're using it with Medway students. Requires them to sign in and it will collect their email. Presentation settings, again, show progress bar. This is helpful when have it on when you have multiple sections in your quiz. Right now we only have one section, but I'll go into sections in a later video. This show link to submit another response is if they can take this more than one time. And you'll see if I click this, limit to one response, that is not available. Confirmation message. When they finish the test and submit their quiz, this is the message that will pop up on their screen. So you can change this to whatever you want. Thank you for completing the test. I hope you did well. Or I'll give you your grades on Wednesday, however you want to do that. Finally, the quizzes setting. And this is really the bread and butter of quizzes. In Google Forms and what it can do for you on grading quizzes automatically. And this is the setup portion of it. I'll go into the feedback and grading in another video. So we're going to make this a quiz. And it says you're allowed to assign point values to questions and allow auto grading. Release grade immediately after each submission or later after manual review. Immediately after each submission means as soon as they click submit, they're going to get the grade based upon the correct answers you dictated. If you have short answer or open response in here, you can't do this immediately after each submission, or else they're going to not get credit for those short answer long response because you have to grade those manually, and I'll show that to you later. So I always like to leave this later after manual review. It always helps too if there's students absent and you want to wait until everyone's completed the test, and you can release the scores all at once. So I like to leave that checked. And this is what they're going to eventually be able to see. Do you want them to see the missed questions that they got? Do you want them to see the correct answers if they had it incorrect, and how many points each question was worth? So once you have that all set, I would click Save. Now my recommendation is when you go and open the form to start, and you know it's a quiz, turn the quizzes feature on right away, and I'll tell you why in a second. But dictate all your settings right off the bat before you start building all these questions. But turn this on as a quiz right away, and I'll tell you why. So I'm going to save that. The reason why I wanted you to turn that right away is as you are building this quiz, so here we have a multiple choice question. So let's just say I started typing this in. What you'll notice down here now is an answer key spot. So as you're building the questions, you can click answer key and say, yep, red is the favorite color. Right? That's the correct answer. You can add answer feedback, and I'll actually tell you that in a second. This particular multiple choice, what's your favorite color? There really is no correct or incorrect question, so we can leave it at 0 points. So I'm going to go down and actually make I'll use this trout one, which is a trout. Okay. And we don't want option 1. I forgot to remove the words option 1, so I can just remove those because we're just going to use the image. Actually, we have to leave. You can just say fish 2, fish 3, fish 1. So what I will do down here is add an answer key. I can change the point. I know this question is worth 4 points. Which of these is a trout? Fish number 2 is a trout. Now, edit answer feedback. I can click that and say for any incorrect answers, I can say whatever you want to pop up on the screen. That's not the one. For any correct answers, great. I bet you have caught one before. For incorrect answers, you have this option down here for a link. Fish. I'm going to do this, fish species, just to get a quick website. Fish species. Alright. To pop up this website. And what I'm saying, I'm going to copy this link here, is maybe if they get it incorrect, you're going to provide them a link to say, check out this resource. I'm going to add it. And then save. So when they get it incorrect, that trout question, that's going to pop up in a link to that website to check out, why they got that wrong and maybe give them an idea of what that correct answer might be. So that's why I like to create this as a quiz right away. So as you're building the questions, you can make them certain points. And then to get back to edit the question, you can click edit question. Now we're in edit question mode. So back up here where we have all these different questions, your response to global warming, I'm going to make an answer key. This is going to be worth 20 points. There is no correct answer to dictate to be auto-graded, but you can put some feedback if you want. So you would want to set the points for all these questions. 3, you can change your correct answer. Maybe there's multiple correct answers. Okay, maybe they're all correct. Maybe some, or you can say for this answer key, football, dance, are the 2 correct answers. 4. So you dictate your answer key all the way through. This will allow it to be auto-graded later, and we'll go check that out at another time. So now that we've built our Google form, how do you know what it looks like? Is it set up correctly? Does it look how you want it to look? What you can do is you can click this little eyeball at the top to preview your form. So when we click that eyeball to preview the form, what we can do is take a look at how it would look to the general public or whoever is actually completing this form. So you can see, okay, there's my title. Here's the instructions I had on the descriptions piece. Okay, and let's see if it looks the way we want. What is this? Apple, good, banana, apple, or other. And you can see the write-in, where the students can write in. What's your favorite class? Here's that grid question. I can say on Monday it was art, on Tuesday it was music. Remember, you can't select more than one. Wednesday is art. Maybe I could like science on this day. How many dogs? Here's our drop-down. Here is our open response, where students can type in whatever they want. Your favorite color, and you can see this little asterisk here. This means that it is a required question, and I can also see how many points this is worth. So yellow, first name, it's Ryan. Now remember, I set this to shuffle the questions, so even though first name and last name were first, now they're shuffled here in the mix. So you may or may not want to shuffle the questions in these cases, because the first name and last name question will be all over. Please write your understanding. Here's that scale grid. What's your response to global warming? Here's another open response. Here's the time question. So what's your favorite time to eat lunch? 11:45. And you can change this AM or PM. So here's that video, which was not tied to according to the video above. Remember, we don't want to shuffle when we have that video in there. Last name, Mary. Which sports do we play? All right. When's your birthday? You can use this to plop up a calendar. You can say April 17th in 1977. Submit your resume. So here's the file upload button, and what you can do is click on add file, and it will bring you to Drive, where you can upload. If we go to my Drive, I can go ahead and upload really any of these files that I have here. So I can upload this PDF. Which of these is a trout? I know this is a trout here, fish 2. And then I would click submit as a student. So I can take this right now because I'm previewing it and submit it as a student, so I can go ahead and do that. But reason for previewing there is so you can really see if it looks okay, if everything looks good, okay? And remember this name, I did data validation on this question that said it needed to be a number, even though it was the last name, just from the settings. It's giving me an error. It must be a number greater than 0, so I'm going to say 2. Okay, and then I submit. So I preview that. If something doesn't look right, you can go back and edit just to the main form, which is open here in another window. But you can see this was that confirmation message that I had. Thank you for completing the test. I hope you did well. So everything you can say, yep, everything looks like it worked out well. This is looking very good. Once we're ready to analyze the data that came back to us in the form, we have a couple of options. So as a teacher, you want to go to the form which we're building. We have all our questions here. But up at the top, you can see that we have the Responses tab. When I click on that Responses tab, I am most likely directed to this summary section for our quiz. And what the summary section will tell you is what the average points were for the class, what the median points were for the class, and also the range for the particular class. Now keep in mind that these points currently right this minute are just representative of those questions that you had corrected automatically, those multiple choice questions that the score, it's easy to create the score. They get a point or 2 points for the correct, however you said it. We have to then kind of go through and give the points for the open response and short answer. But before I do that, you can see the average, median, range, our point distribution for the class. It will also show the frequently missed questions, which ones were less than 50% correct as a whole. You can see our students and what they scored. The scores weren't released yet. Again, this button right here, Release Scores, is what you will click when all the students have completed the test, and they will get an email showing them their score along with whatever the other settings were that you set. Show correct answers, show point scores, question scores, and all that other information. You can see now question by question as a summary what was given. Here's the long text for global warming, favorite color, how many people chose each choice. You can see in green the correct answers that were set. Okay, here's the other choices. So you can see here was that file upload question. We can access a couple of these files. They also get this particular question has a file, a folder created in Drive, where all these files that students upload get placed into. So while that's opening, while you could click here and open either of these files from this location, it's also going to place all those submitted files in a folder for you in Drive. I can go back to that. So we have our scale question here for each day, which class and how that's represented. The birthdays, April 17th, 77, November 21st, 80. Favorite time to eat lunch. That was the question about a picture of an apple. What is this? And then the pictures of a fish, which is the trout. 2 out of 2 correct. So right here I can see the summary, but what I need to do, and here's those files all in a Google form. So the sample form, file responses, and here's all the students' files. So what I need to do is go here to the individual responses of students. Click individual, and now I can cycle through the different students that have taken the test, and I'll start with myself. 0 points for this question, 0 points for that question. What is your response to global warming? I need to put in a point total, so that looks like a horrible response, so I'm just going to give it 2 points. Favorite color is worth 3 points. We'll give it full credit for there. Which sports got wrong? That was corrected automatically, you can see there, because there was correct answers set. How many dogs do you have? We have 0 points. This is worth 0 points. This is worth 0 points. Level of understanding, you can see worth 0 points. This was in our initial setup of the answer key, saying we're not going to score those questions. Not going to score those. We didn't have the apple question scored. The trout we said was worth 4 points. Down here, according to the video, describe how a volcano erupts. We're saying 10 points. So I will give a full 10 points to this student on that answer. And you can provide feedback to the student here if you would like. Save. You don't have to. And then we're going to save that student scores. All right. And now if I go to my next student, Ryan Denham, we can see here, we're going to go with a 20 for this answer. 20. We are going to move down. Favorite color is worth 3. We'll give 3 points there. These are all worth 0, and we'll go all the way down to the bottom, and we'll give a 8 for this student with no feedback, and we're going to save. You're going to notice now when I go to the summary, we have some different numbers here. Average of 27 as opposed to that 4. The median was also 4 before, so we have a 19 to a 35. And you can see how those graphs are looking a little bit different. So once I was done reviewing all those, giving the scores through the individual responses, I can then release those scores. Our other option for viewing scores is like before. Up here you see this little icon, Create Spreadsheet. What we're going to do is click, I'm going to show you that in a second. We're going to click Create Spreadsheet. And what we want to do is create a new spreadsheet, click Create, and you only need to do this once per form, and then anytime in the future when you go to this form and you click this button, it will bring you right to that spreadsheet that you created. So here we have time-stamped when the student took the test, their email address, their score, and then here we have the questions across the top, first name, last name, and we have all these questions, and then what we have here is the responses to all the questions, a link to the file that they uploaded. A good thing to do here, the reason why you have this spreadsheet is you can sort pretty easily upon email address, upon first name, last name, certain questions. You can do a lot of manipulation of the data. You can create formulas. In here, maybe you wanted to weight this certain question or this test as part of a larger grade. You can take the scores here, 19, and weight this times 5% of their final grade, and have this as part of some sort of greater plan in terms of their grade book. But just to know that you have this other option for viewing their grades in this spreadsheet. Finally, underneath this tab here, you can click this to get a notification anytime a student clicks this and completes this form in the future. Unlink Form basically means when students take this form, the responses won't go to this particular spreadsheet. Responses will always stay here, and you can always unlink the form and then create another spreadsheet, and it will pull in all the responses. You can also download them and bring them into a spreadsheet or a CSV file to put somewhere else. And that's really, in a nutshell, how you view all the student responses. Keeping in mind, when you release those scores, they get an email with all their grades, correct answers, and so forth.